No.
Briana Aldridge, Matt Bove, and Dom Tibbetts here to preview week 1 of the Bills versus Jets. And Matt, I'll start with you. Obviously, this is a huge game. We're talking prime time. We're talking Monday Night Football. Aaron Rodgers all in the mix. You've been out there a lot. So what's kind of just the vibes going into this, and maybe kind of focusing not on the veterans, but some of the new guys?
I'm wearing my Jets green. Can't you tell? Maybe that's who I think is going to win the game. I think the vibes are weird because they aren't saying it's a bigger game, but they also kind of know it's a bigger game. This one has a bit more juice to it. I asked today Micah Hyde if you can kind of get anything about playing on the big stage, if you can, get a better version of yourself out of that. And he said you can to an extent, but you also can't treat it like it's any different than whatever other games you could be playing. I do think, though, the Bills are going to start strong, and I think they're going to start fast. I think they have a bit of an advantage going into this game because, listen, the core of this team has been here for a while. The newcomers are not going to be thrust into anything they're not ready for. I mean, you look at the Jets. The Jets have a really talented roster, but it's a new quarterback in a new system. It's a new offensive coordinator trying to figure things out. I mean, look how bumpy it was with Ken Dorsey last year, and he had Josh Allen. It's not going to be smooth right out of the gate. And if it is, then maybe they're just better than I'm giving them credit for. I think it's going to be a really, really close game. But I think you've got to kind of give the advantage to the team that has done it for the last couple of years and not a team that's trying to do it for the first time.
And Matt brought up Micah Hyde, so I know he spoke today. So, Dom, I'll bring this to you. It was a little bit of concern. He's the only guy on the injury list as limited, but it sounds like he's going to be ready to go week 1. Can you just talk about what he sounded like at the podium today?
Yeah, I can, because, Micah gave the best soundbite to give everybody the reassurance that he was going to be there Monday night, which when someone asked, is there any concern or any reason why this injury might prohibit you from playing Monday night? He said, absolutely not. So having him back, it has been since week 2 of last season since gotten to see Micah back on the field. I have to imagine just him be back on the field healthy, with a healthy Jordan Poyer, healthy Tre'Davious White. You have so many of these veteran pieces to the Bills secondary. They're all going to be back together playing against, like Matt said, I think you brought up a good point, Aaron Rodgers learning with new offensive weapons, trying to figure things out. It's all good news, it seems like. He's not a doctor, but everything seemed to be pointing in the right direction in terms of where Micah is and what he's going to be ready to do come Monday night. It's exciting to see that tandem of him and Poyer back there again. It's something that the Bills didn't have last year, and the Jets put them on the ropes. And I'm not saying the Jets have fallen off. I think they have gotten better too, but it's going to be really key to have him back, and all things pointing in that right direction.
And Matt, I want to turn and kind of get your thoughts on what do you think about how concerned Bills Mafia should be about this offensive line. I know it's been a big priority this offseason at depth. We saw people retiring, season-ending injury. We have a rookie in there now. So what do you think is going to be the biggest challenge for the O-line going into MetLife?
Yeah, well, it's a really tough matchup. The Jets have maybe the best defensive line in the NFL and maybe one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL with Quinnen Williams. That guy's a beast. My biggest concern for the Bills' offensive line is right tackle, Spencer Brown. Brandon Beane, their Bills general manager, has said that Spencer Brown had kind of a weird offseason last year, and that's why he never thought he was 100%. He was coming off of an injury, still a really young player. So that's my biggest concern is right tackle. And then as far as the rest of the line is concerned, I think they're better. I think Deion Dawkins is going to have a better year than he did last year, and I think their interior line will be much better than it was last year. Roger Saffold was never, super consistent when he played. Connor McGovern should be an improvement there. And then when you look at the right guard, Osiris Torrance came in and just flat out won the job. I thought Ryan Bates was okay when he played, but Osiris Torrance played better. Mitch Morris, kind of the stable of consistency in the middle. I think that could still be an advantage for the Jets because their defensive line is so solid. But that being said, if that's the biggest mismatch, the Bills still should have opportunities to kind of win their battles. It's just quick. Got to be quick. Quick-paced, fast-paced. Josh needs to get the ball out of his hands fast. If you do that, then you can kind of limit the wreckage that the defensive line for the Jets can do.
And Dom, I know we've talked about this all offseason, preseason, the middle linebacker position, the question marks. Yesterday, Sean McDermott made it clear that Bernard was going to get that start. How do you feel about that decision, especially because he didn't get any preseason reps at all?
I don't know what that decision means more. Is it more on the plus side for Terrell Bernard being so good that he didn't need any preseason reps to convince Sean McDermott, linebackers coach Bobby Babich, that he deserved the starting role? Or is it more of a negative towards Tyrell Dodson that he couldn't win a job? It was really, I thought, is to lose at this point. I know the competition became really between the two teams there. My overall level of concern is kind of unchanged as it has been this whole offseason. I have said it from the time that Tremaine Edmonds was in his second or third year, and I said it this offseason, if the Bills lost, I feel like we were going to feel the effects of his loss way more than people probably wanted to give him credit to. I know there was some up and down moments between Bills Mafia and Tremaine Edmonds, but in terms of where we are with Terrell Bernard, I think he is more than capable of doing the job. We talked to Greg Rousseau after practice today. So they had asked him about what is it like to hit the play calls and what's it like to have him as Terrell Bernard being kind of the play caller, signal caller on defense. And Greg had nothing but positives to say about Bernard. He says he's a student of the game. He does his research. He knows how to go, be thorough with his game plan and his execution. So in terms of just where Terrell Bernard is and making sure he's ready to go, it sounds like he has done his homework, and this is a job that he has worked really hard in this Bill system to get. But I need to see results before I feel better about this decision, because it is still far and above the biggest question mark, I think, among this entire Bills roster, not just offense, but defense, this entire team. It is still the middle linebacker is the biggest question mark, more than that offensive line.
And going to you, Matt, do you kind of agree that the middle linebacker is one of the biggest concerns right now? And what do you think Bernard being named means for Dodson at this point, like his role on the team?
Yeah, undoubtedly, it's the biggest concern for the Bills. I don't think there's anything that's even close. I think that's the biggest one. And then after that, there's a pretty sizable gap. Then for me, it's right tackle and it's cornerback. But I don't think those are even close to linebacker. I don't know what to expect from Terrell Bernard. I think he probably has more upside than maybe we're giving him credit for. Maybe he goes in and steps up and, plays great right away. But there's going to be growing pains. It's his second career start, and it's against Aaron Rodgers. That's really, really tough to do, to be the quarterback of the defense. And you got to keep in mind, the last game he started, the only other game he started, he was playing in place of Matt Milano, not Tremaine Edmonds. So now he's going in and he's got to try and convey all the calls to all of his teammates and be, the quarterback of the defense. As far as Tyrell Dodson is concerned, to me, it means that he is a depth player. I think the leash on Terrell Bernard is going to be pretty tight. If he plays poorly, I don't think they will. They're in a window right now where they cannot afford to just let somebody sit there and develop. They need to win right now, because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to win a Super Bowl. So if Bernard's not playing great, I don't even think they go to Tyrell Dodson. I think they go to Christian Kirksey, because he's got snaps in the NFL and he's got tons of experience, and they elevate him from the practice squad and say, like, okay, we need somebody who can just kind of hold down the fort. We don't need you to be spectacular. We just need you to kind of be the person in the middle, and everybody else around you will make the plays. I don't think it's going to get to that point. I do want to give Bernard the benefit of the doubt. I think he might go in there and kind of surprise some people, but that still doesn't make it not concerning. Like it's absolutely a concern.
And going to your list of concerns, I was just going to ask you, that was going to be my next question, cornerback 2 position. Kind of interested to see what the Bills do with Kyer at this point, because I feel like there were so much high expectations, and I don't know exactly where they kind of made the decision, if it was, some of the penalties he got during the preseason. But what do you see Kyer, on this team if he's not really showing up when he is called upon this year?
I mean, Kyer Elam just flat out got beat. Christian Benford beat him in the preseason, beat him in training camp, and Dane Jackson admittedly did too. And given what they used to draft Kyer Elam, a first-round pick, that is a disappointment. It is way too early in his career to write him off. But that being said, you would have anticipated a heck of a lot more from a guy that you used a first-round pick on. So I think that he'll still get on the field occasionally. Kyer Elam is far and away at his best when he can play physical. The thing he needs to figure out is the balance between playing physical and taking unnecessary penalties. The gray area is there where he needs to find himself. I think Christian Benford, very steady, not spectacular, but also is not going to just get burnt. And I think that's what they're looking for as a cornerback too, especially opposite Tre'Davious White. Elam's going to play, Dane Jackson's going to play, but they're not going to start. And that's not a good sign for the Bills. But all of that being said, Christian Benford was a 6th-round pick. So it looks like you might have gotten a great find in the 6th round, but your first round, that's not so great.
Kind of turning to offense a little bit, someone I'm really excited to see what he does this season, Dalton Kincaid. How much do you think the Bills are actually going to utilize him? I mean, that's a big stage, a week 1 against a big team. How much do you think we actually see of him?
I think early OTA, early offseason is a lot harder question to answer because you just don't know. You haven't seen him in a live game situation. You don't know how the Bills are going to use this rookie. We've seen them kind of take their time in years past with other rookies they've drafted. But I was in Pittsburgh for the Steelers preseason game. Everything that Kincaid has shown me in this preseason, that has shown in the offseason from training camp, you're doing this team a disservice not getting him involved. The 12-man personnel is going to be huge for this offense and what you're able to do. It's going to take pressure off guys like Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis. Dawson Knox will probably arguably get one of his best years in his career because Kincaid, being a rookie but being such a highly touted guy, is going to take a lot of attention off of some of these other guys because you have to watch where number 86 is on the field. I'm expecting him to make an impact very quickly. For all the people who have been trying to take Dalton Kincaid and their late sleeper of their fantasy drafts, I don't think we're going to see like George Kittle astronomical numbers right off the bat, but his effect and what he's able to provide to the offense, I think is going to be something you'll have to pay closer attention to. And then his workload, I think, will increase throughout the season. But again, why not use this guy? He has proven he's got the skill and the talent to do that.
They need to. They need to make sure that they are getting the ball out of Josh Allen's hands quick. And him and Deontay Hardy are your best weapons to try and do that. So I like both of their upside in this game because I think, Stephon Diggs is always going to be Stephon Diggs. He's always going to be your number 1 wide receiver, your number 1 target. But if Quinnen Williams is storming up the middle and just beating his man every single time, 1-2 seconds, like that's the window that you're working with. And the guys that are going to find space the best are Kincaid and Hardy. So, Dom mentioned, yes, technically it is 12 personnel. They'll have 2 tight ends on the field for a lot of it. But Kincaid, not to, beat a dead horse here, but is kind of going to be utilized like a wide receiver as well.
Is there anybody else in the newbie wide receivers that they brought in, or offensive weapons, I should say, that you're kind of looking forward to see if they actually, change up some stuff this season? You're raising your hand.
Trent Sherfield.
Yes.
I love Trent Sherfield. I think this is probably one of the best offseason acquisitions Bills put out. He has just brought something that's so complementary to this wide receiver room. His speed, his vertical threat, his ability to get open. I don't think the Bills really needed to put that many targets on him this preseason. I don't have the numbers in front of me, guys. I know it wasn't a lot. He didn't really play all that much in the preseason. I think that's just because the Bills have so much faith in what Trent Sherfield does. Ken Dorsey, we talked to him a few weeks ago, and I had asked him about Trent and just what he has brought to this team. I can't summarize the 1 minute, 30-second positive takeaway that Ken Dorsey gave about Trent, but everything you hear about Sherfield is that he has implemented himself into this room, become arguably wide receiver number 3 behind Seth and Gabe. And he has brought the level of intensity and competition up so well. I think he's going to be a huge piece on offense. And just like to Matt's point, a guy who just is able to get the ball quickly, give Josh Allen a target to throw to, and really turn this offense up to another level.
Yeah, he's going to be their best wide receiver 3 that they've had since Gabe was their wide receiver 3 and they had Emmanuel Sanders as their wide receiver 2. I don't think he'll be like startable in fantasy football. I don't think that the numbers are going to be astronomical, but I do think he will be a difference maker. And I think he's somebody who could pop off a couple big plays. Don't love the matchup this week against the Jets, given what I think the game plan for the Bills will be, but still think he could be a contributor, especially throughout the entire season.
And we have to talk about it because I feel like this is the next big step, I guess you would say, for Damar Hamlin, playing, a big regular season game. McDermott kind of seemed like all off season, he didn't really know how much he would be actually playing. But if he does get out on the field, Matt, how big of a deal is that for his next step?
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge deal. It'll be the first time he's played a real football game since everything happened in Cincinnati. But at the same time, I don't know if he's going to play. He made the 53-man roster. They'll probably have 4 safeties active in this game. We know who 3 of those are for sure. Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer, and Taylor Rapp. Then you have to have a decision of who will be your 4th safety. Is it Damar Hamlin or is it Cam Lewis? I guess it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for somebody who can be a bigger special teams contributor, both of those guys play special teams. I don't know what they're going to do. I think that you can make the argument either way. Trial by fire. Throw him back out there. It's a big stage. But he's got to sign off on it too. So I'm not going to be shocked either way. If he plays, I think he mostly just plays special teams. Not that that's, not a big deal. That would still be incredible given what he went through. But I also see a world where maybe he doesn't play and they take this a little bit slower. Maybe they try and put him in a little bit of an easier environment. It's got to be a little weird. I mean, everything that happened with him happened on Monday Night Football. So then walking him out again on Monday Night Football under the bright lights might be another hurdle that they don't want him to have to clear, at least yet. It's an easier transition, I guess, thing or something to overcome if you do it at home Sunday, 1:00 against the Raiders. But we'll see.
So final question, I'll put both of you guys on the spot real quick. Dom, I'll start with you. Do you think the Bills are ending week 1 with a win or a loss against the Jets?
It's a win. It is 100% a win.
100%.
That's wild.
100% a win.
Tweet it.
100% a win. Mm-hmm.
Really?
I mean, guys, can you 80% win a game? Is that possible?
He's going
no,
but
you're
$5 billion. Write that down.
But you're that confident?
Mm-hmm. I am. Yeah. I absolutely am confident in the Bills getting this done. This goes back to a philosophy I have just believed in, like long before the Bills even got Josh Allen, before things started to really turn around for this franchise, was they are the kings of the AFC East until proven otherwise. They have proven, even with some of the the ailments that were against them in that home game against New York last year, that they were able to get the job done. I think Rodgers has a little bit of a struggle getting used to all the things that Matt had mentioned earlier. I don't think he's going to come out and immediately it's right the gas pedal for this Jets offense. I think the Jets defense is good enough to keep it. We are not going to see what we saw last year against the Rams, where the Bills had this game done by halftime. That is not going to happen against this Jets defense. They're very real. So I'm going to 100% guarantee the Bills win by a close margin, 27-23. But I do. Book it.
I didn't even ask for a score. He threw that in there. I love that.
Don't do the 100% guarantee thing ever. That could end up on Old Takes Exposed immediately, and then somebody's going to clip it. And they're going to send it to you. Always give yourself an out. Come on. But
no, I'm good. I'm good. I'm rolling. I'm ready. Right. Whatever.
Matt, what about you?
Roll.
I remember one of you picked against the Bills on Instagram last year on the graphic that they made, and somebody got toasted, and I was like, yeah, that's tough, but. I mean, it's real. You can't pick the Bills every single week. They are going to lose games during the season. Their schedule this
100%.
year is so much harder than it was last year. And when you look at the hard games, this one is very high on the list. The Bills could absolutely lose this game, but I don't think they're going to. I do think they're going to win. I agree with Dom there. I think it's going to be a very close game. I think the difference here is that right now, you look at all the position groups that these two teams have, they're very close. Line, I think the biggest advantage the Bills have is their defensive line against the Jets' offensive line. I think it's the exact same thing for the Jets. It's their D-line against the Bills' offensive line. Then you go to wide receivers. Okay, Stephon Diggs, Garrett Wilson, both elite. What about all the other guys? The running backs, that's the Jets, whatever. I trust Josh Allen at this point in his career a little bit more than Aaron Rodgers in a new system with a new coach and with a new team. The biggest challenge for the Bills, honestly, is the environment. It's going into MetLife Stadium on Monday Night Football on the anniversary of 9/11 with a fan base that has not been this excited in 2 decades and trying to win. But the Bills might be able to use that to their advantage. They might be like, okay, great. The one nice thing I'll say about this, there is no pressure on the Bills. None whatsoever. You go in and you lose a close game, it's like, okay, you lost a close game to a good team on the road, whatever, we'll get them next week. If you're the Jets, all of those tabloids and whatever they have in New York City, the New York Post and Daily News and all that stuff is going to be like, this is a failure. It's never going to work. All of the pressure is on the Jets. The Bills need to lean into that. I think they do, and I think they're going to win. 27-26. That's what I'll say.
Okay. And if I could just add something too, I think the Bills are in such a better position this year than they were last year, where it's like clear Super Bowl favorite, front runners. It's their Super Bowl to lose at this point. I think the Bills are back on this underdog role, and I think that is going to be a big benefit. They can kind of play again with that no pressure mentality. I will say the one maybe I'll take on my guarantee: turnovers you can't have it in any game, right? But against this Jets defense, what we saw last year down in New Jersey, that can't happen. The Bills have got to play clean football. Because Aaron Rodgers, if you give them the ball back in their own territory, or in your territory, I should say, from the Bills' sake, he's probably going to get you points, and it's probably going to be a touchdown. So you got to play clean football here. No turnovers. That's going to be the key. And I trust the Bills there, so that's why I'm picking them to win.
I love that. Way to come back strong.
Yeah.
Agreed, though. Clean football, they'll definitely win. Turnovers, penalties, mistakes. I think the Jets are hungry and they will take advantage, and the Bills will get exposed week 1. But I think that's all the questions that I had for you guys. I'm super excited. It's airing on our channel. It's going to be great. Monday Night Football. That's going to be it. Briana Aldridge, Bove, Dom Tibbetts.